And as we prepare to receive Rev Todd's message, let us sing this one. This one is I'm Gonna Live So God Can Use Me Anywhere and Anytime. And I encourage you to sing along with me. This is an oldie. Here we go. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere and anytime. Come on, we're gonna sing work. I'm gonna work so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna work so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna love so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna love so God can use me anywhere and anytime. Come on, we gotta do a little dance in our chairs. I'm gonna dance so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna dance so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna sing so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna sing so God can use me anywhere and anytime. I'm gonna live anywhere, and anytime. Anywhere and anytime. Here's Rev Todd.
I think Deidrey pulled a fast one on some of y'all. Is this on? No. I think Deidrey pulled one on some of y'all. She just made all of you sing I Will Dance Anywhere and Anytime. And I want y'all to know that verse came on and Jerry popped up and ran out the door.
It's been a year, by the way.
A whole year. But the memory lives in my head because, everybody's doing the cha-cha around that room at Lake Junaluska, and I pull out my camera and I'm standing here, and Patty's looking at me. I'm going to kill you. That's location humor. You had to be there. So y'all should come to Lake Junaluska sometime. Okay, happy Sunday, friends. We've spent the past couple of weeks talking about becoming and about our spiritual practices, and we're diving into that again today. And you've noticed these beautiful images that Kath has put up there for us. Paths that well-worn paths. Most of them not paved, but made visible because people have traveled them. This idea came to fruition as I was working on this week. Kaylin had Kalen, if y'all don't know, this is Teresa's son, and he is a dear friend of mine. He and his wife both. He sent a TikTok, Instagram reel, and it was talking about paths of desire, and it shows, the concrete sidewalk, and then it shows the way people actually move in the world. And see, we've been on this spiritual journey, and you'll remember even a couple series ago, I was using a lot of hiking imagery, and part of that is, I'm ready to go hiking through the Andes Mountains, right? And the truth that we have to remember is that the trail is never the destination. It is the way by which we move, the way by which we travel. And a path remains visible because people keep walking the path. And sometimes the weather might obscure the path. Sometimes there might be some overgrowth that obscures it. Sometimes we wander off the path. And sometimes the path itself needs to be tended or to be repaired. And so, we've spent the past several weeks asking, what kind of community are we practicing becoming? Right? Because we know it's not who we say we are, it's how we practice that together. Right? It's not enough to know the truth. It's not enough to recite it. You have to live it. And so, today I want to suggest that covenant, the practice of covenant, is how we choose the path and how we find our way back when we wander off of it. And so we have had this series progression of welcoming, where I make room for you. We have wonder, I remain open to the truth of you. Collaboration, I create with you. And a covenant, I commit to how I will be with you. And that includes how I will return when we fall short. So again, and I cannot say this premise enough. A community is not formed by what it believes about itself. It is formed by what it practices together. Identity says this is who we are, and covenant says, then how shall we live? And so we have our unity principles. We have these 5 principles that we have been reciting week after week. We have our mission statement, our vision statement. We have our values. All of those are posted in the lobby. We say our mission and vision, and these are supportive guideposts. They describe the consciousness and the community that we say we value. And covenant is not another identity statement. It is the practice of living in alignment with what we have already said matters to us as a community. And so, one thing that I have seen in the world, I've mentioned this before, is that in so many relationships that we hold people accountable to expectations that we've never bothered to communicate. And we hold people accountable to expectations that they never agreed to. And so, let's underline this, and if you want to take notes, expectations are not agreements. Expectations are not agreements. Examples can be ordinary, right? We have this. Hey, I thought somebody would call me. You ever had that? I assumed the board would fill in the blank. The minister should have known. Has anybody ever thought that? And the feelings that are attached to those ideas are real. But covenant invites us to bring the expectations into relationships rather than silently turn it into a verdict. Now, covenant is a really beautiful word that has lots of scriptural references. And covenant is so important in unity that at the beginning of their ministry, Charles and Myrtle wrote an 1892 dedication and covenant in which they said, we are going to do all of this for Spirit. And in return, we know that this is what's going to happen. And it was not a statement of belief. It named how they intended to orient their time, their resources, their attention, and their lives toward the Spirit of truth. And it's a beautiful covenant, and it was theirs. And I don't think any one of us should copy what they've done, though it's very inspirational. Now, Eric Butterworth has a later invitation where he said, I want you to write your own covenant, arising from your own faith, your own commitment, your own realization of truth. And so the power of a covenant is not that it's the right words. The power of any covenant is becoming conscious enough to name how you want to live, how you intend to live with these principles that we say are important to us, with these values that we say shape us as a community, with the mission and vision, right? And so I'm wondering, what would it mean for us to become conscious enough to name how we intend to live with God, with the Spirit of truth? What would it mean for us to be conscious enough to name how we intend to live with ourselves? And conscious enough to name how we intend to live with one another? What would that mean? Now, this is partially inspired from, again, one of our scriptures. This is from chapter 6 of Galatians. And this is the version from the Message, because, I really like the Message. Live creatively, friends. If someone falls into sin, if someone falls into error thinking, if someone falls into error thinking, forgivingly restore him, saving your critical comments for yourself. You might be needing forgiveness before the day is out. You might be needing forgiveness before the day is out. Stoop down and reach out to those who are oppressed. Share their burdens and so complete Christ's law. If you think you are too good for that, you are badly deceived. There is a tension here that Paul is holding as he writes this letter to the Galatians. We have a responsibility to one another. And we have a responsibility to ourselves. And restoration is the aim, not humiliation. Restoration. And the person offering accountability must also practice self-examination. Gentleness is not the absence of truth. It is strength governed by love. And so as we look at, to hold people accountable by living creatively and noticing that someone is having error thoughts and to restore them, right? This is accountability. Accountability is not standing over another person. It is remaining answerable in relationship. And as I look through the lens that I have and I look around the world and the many different circles that I travel and the many different communities, organizations, structures of governance that I can see, I think accountability is missing. And so if we want to be the change that we want to see in the world, then we have to make sure that we are living into accountability. We have to make sure that we are remaining answerable within our relationship in community. And sorry, my throat is very dry today. Here's something that I don't believe is mentioned or talked about enough, maybe hardly ever. And here is the Playground Planet Earth truth. Like all relationships, spiritual communities will rupture. They will rupture. Because we're all people. We're all fully human in expression. Though we are fully divine, we are fully human in expression, and people disappoint each other. Has anybody ever disappointed you? Maybe this week? Maybe this morning? Someone will feel unseen. Perhaps leadership will make decisions that someone does not understand or does not like. Someone will communicate poorly. Someone will withdraw. Somebody's going to gossip. Someone's going to become defensive. It might be me. Someone's going to miss the mark. And this does not indicate, suggest, or prove that the community has failed. It proves that human beings are present. See, covenant is not our promise that we won't rupture relationship. Covenant is our commitment to what we will do when rupture happens. Right? And so when rupture happens and we have a commitment to what we're going to do, right? It's about repair. Right? We notice that ruptures happen. We can't pretend that it hasn't. We have to speak directly rather than triangulate. Does anybody know what triangulation is? Anybody don't? It's where these two talk about this person, and then this person and this person talk about that person, you know. And let me tell you what, the person that gossips with you gossips about you. You can write that one down too. That's not a spiritual truth. That's just fact. When we are standing in the space of repair, we listen for the impact as well as the intention. Because no one ever, I believe, intentionally sets out to cause harm, and yet the impact is sometimes we do. When we're standing in the space of repair, we take responsibility for what is ours. And we forgive without pretending that harm did not happen. And we do our best to make amends, to establish healthier boundaries where they are needed. And we return to the practice of becoming the very best that we can be, the practice of welcoming, the practice of wonder, the practice of collaboration, the practice of covenant. And every time I think it's just about every time I say the word forgiveness, I always like put a little asterisk and say, and forgiveness does not erase accountability. Right? Accountability does not cancel belonging. Repair is a part of covenant, and forgiveness says, I'm not going to let this chew up my insides and make me filled with dis-ease. And repair does not always mean reconciliation. Right? Repair does not mean that you suddenly have restored access to the relationship you once held. Right? It does not mean that you necessarily get to return to the relationship as it once was. Faithful repair includes changed boundaries, expressed expectations, and agreements. And when we talk about accountability, here's something that covenant as a practice requires. It requires participation of everyone involved. Have you ever known somebody that was in leadership and they wanted to hold everybody else accountable, but they didn't want anybody to hold them accountable? You ever known anybody like that? Okay, so here's the thing. If we are going to experience covenant as a practice together, that means that the minister and the trustees and the leader of this team or the leader of that team, nobody gets to exclude and exempt themselves. Now we have some legal bylaws that dictate, what the rights are of our members and what the responsibilities of our members are. It states that our trustees are representatives of the membership and have duties of communication and dialogue. The minister is accountable within a governance structure. But see, I don't need to teach you the bylaws. They're written, and you can go and look at them. They're in the library. I can email them to you. See, bylaws can tell us where authority resides, but covenant helps us decide how will we be with one another while we are exercising authority. Because rupture is going to happen. I have, on occasion, made decisions that made people unhappy. One of them was I moved the chairs. People did not know where to sit. And I've thought about moving them again just to excite you. But see, is that a governance document, or is that a conversation about our comfort? How are we going to be while we step into this practice of becoming the very best, of becoming the Christ that each of us is called to be? So I don't have answers for this, and it would be antithetical to what I'm even talking about today. But what occurs to me is that perhaps we can create together a culture and a practice of accountability. One where you can tell me, or you can tell a trustee, or you can tell one another, there is a gap between what we say we value and what I'm experiencing. There's a gap between what we say and what I'm experiencing. Right? And then we all have to take a deep breath. Imagine somebody saying, hey, there's a gap here, and you're, okay, I put on my curious pants and not my defensive pants. And I say, great, let's have a conversation. And you put on your curious pants and say, let's have a conversation. See, accountability is not control, and the truth is that every preference does not become a decision. Yes? We get that. See, accountability is not control. Our invitation is, let's do this together. You know, and so what do structures of accountability look like in a community like this? In who we are becoming as we seek to be the very best that we can be of a spiritual community. Right? We have to discern relational practices that complements and does not replace the formal structures of our bylaws. And in some ways, each one of these ideas of accountability becomes individualized because we are each individualized expressions of the one mind. And so we're invited into a personal covenant. And I have a handout for you too. Because I want you to consider, what is your covenant with Spirit? What practices and principles help you remember who you are and the consciousness from which you want to live? And hear this. What practices and principles help you remember who you want to be and the consciousness from which you want to live, especially when you're disappointed or defensive or tired or afraid? Right? Because we're not about Sunday hobbies. We're about life transformation. We're about transforming the world to create a world that works for all. And that starts with me. It starts with you. I want you to consider a covenant with yourself. What responsibility are you willing to take for your own spiritual life, for your own expectations, for your own boundaries, for your ability to communicate and to participate? And what covenant are you willing to take with yourself over the behaviors that you step into regarding each one of those decisions? And finally, I really want you to ponder a covenant with community. What are you willing to bring to our shared becoming? What do you honestly and reasonably expect to receive from this community and from its leadership? And how are you willing to communicate when something is not working for you? How are you willing to participate in accountability, in forgiveness, and in repair? Now, one thing that showed up for me as I was preparing this talk and as I explored Charles and Myrtle's covenant is that it can easily begin to look transactional. I'm going to do this if I get this. Covenant is reciprocal, but it is not transactional. And so when you're looking at covenant with community, when you're looking at covenant with Spirit, I want to encourage you and to name what you hope and reasonably expect to receive without saying, I will only bring this if you give me that. We've all met people like that, right? Transactional people. I want you to name what you are willing to bring without pretending you have no needs or expectations. and what you can bring with joy. I believe that covenant makes the invisible visible. It is where intention becomes language, expectation becomes conversation, and belonging becomes practice. So, I want to invite you to get clear on your personal covenant, your three dimensions of it. And I'll hand these out at the end of service so you can do it. And it'll also be sent out in an email and available online. But it's not something I expect you to do today. It's not something I expect to get done overnight. I want to invite you to take your time with it, to take it home, to live with it, to pray with it, and to notice both the parts that feel very easy for you and the parts that make you uncomfortable. And then, if you're willing, bring it back on September 13th when we have our meeting. Right? And you can keep it entirely private. You may share it with me and or with the trustees. You may tell us that something you have written here deserves a conversation. And see, here's what I want you to know, that if you do decide to share it, that it's not to measure loyalty or to kind of determine who's committed enough, whatever that means. But it is about reciprocal covenant. Means leadership needs to hear both what people are willing to bring and what they need and what they are expecting from leadership. Because if you're not willing to tell us what you need and what you want, then there's only one guarantee, that you really might not get it at all if we don't know about it. So share, be open and willing. Let's start practicing accountability. Let's start practicing covenant with one another as a community. And so this leads me into this potential name change that, I had one person say, I can't see why anybody would be against it. And then I hear like 3 or 4 people go, I'm not for that. Right? The proposed name, we have a proposed name change, if you don't know this, to change from Crystal Coast Unity to Unity of the Crystal Coast. And that's just one question in a larger practice of covenant. And it's not the purpose of this talk. This is just a piece of it. We have an affiliated relationship with Unity. And that is reflected in our bylaws. And a proposed name change invites a deeper question. What does it mean to understand ourselves consciously as a local expression participating in the larger Unity movement? So the vote is not a test of the covenant. The way we discern, speak, listen, disagree, decide, and continue together is about covenant. And I'm not tied to it either way. I've presented you with a fact sheet of why it's even on the table at this point in time. But I'm curious for you to sit with this question. What would it mean to put unity first? Not simply on the sign, but in the way we practice unity together. Right? And there is lots of room for a no vote. Because covenant, a practice of covenant, is demonstrated in how the community handles difference, not by requiring a unanimous vote. How we practice and handle difference. This path is a well-worn path because people keep returning to it. People keep walking it. Our walking helps keep it visible for those who come after us. And sometimes we wander. Sometimes storms are going to obscure the way, and sometimes we discover that a section of trail still needs to be created. There are parts of this path of spiritual community that we haven't built yet. And there are some paved roads that Unity put down that might not be the roads we want to take. What is the path of our desire? Let's create them together. We have welcoming as a practice. I will make room for you, and I do make room for you. Wonder as a practice. I remain open to the mystery of you. I remain open to the mystery of life. Collaboration as a practice. I create with you. We co-create all of this. And covenant as a practice. I commit to how I will be with you. And when we fall short, I will help us find our way back. We are not covenanting to be perfect. We are covenanting to practice becoming. And as a practice together, I want to invite you all to maybe close your eyes and become aware of your breath. Relax into your seat. And shift your awareness and your intention, your attention within. Bring your attention inward to that illuminated place in consciousness. And using that incredible projection screen of consciousness and your faculty of imagination, see yourself standing on this well-worn path. Where have you been practicing welcome and wonder and collaboration? Where have you wandered? What relationship, expectation, or disappointment is inviting honest conversation and repair? Let's pause and sit with these questions for just a moment in the stillness and in the silence. Returning to our breath as we need to be present to the fullness of community, to be present to welcoming and wonder and to collaboration. Who are we becoming? In the stillness and in the silence. I do not have to be perfect to be faithful. I can return. I can return. And so now, as you are guided to, I invite you back to the space and the time, bringing forth with you the wisdom and the will to have honest conversations and to seek repair where needed in your life. I invite you to step into the practice of welcoming and of wonder and of collaboration. To seek the peace of covenant with the God of your understanding, with yourself, and with this community. And to bring your full attention and awareness and your full intention into the practice of becoming the Christ you are meant to be. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Thank you, Rev Todd, for your message. It reminded me of a song by Ricky Byers called A Mighty Gift of Joy, and I'd like to sing that for you now. Trusting the gift within, trusting the love I know, I step with sweeter faith into the world I go, and in the day I have, let there be time enough to bring a mighty, mighty gift of joy. Move from the gift within, move from the love you know, and step with greater faith into the world you flow, and in the time you have, you will be strong enough to bring a mighty, mighty gift of joy. Oh, the world is calling us to come alive immediately, to share the good and do our best with all our love and tenderness. And we are learning how to give to those who need us now. And I feel that we need them just as much as the flowers need the sun. So trust in the gift within, trust in the love you know, and move with greater faith into the world. Just go have. There will be time enough, time